Welcome to Behind the Recipe. I'm your host, Christina Hitchcock. Join me every week as we dive into the joys of cooking, explore kitchen tips and tricks, and share delicious recipes that will inspire your next meal. So whether you're a seasoned cook or just learning your way around the stove, there's something here for everyone. So today, I'm sharing a little kitchen confession. For years, I was doing something wrong, and really, I had no idea. What was it? Crowding the pan. Yep. I used to pile way too much chicken, beef, or veggies into the skillet thinking I was saving time. Because, I like to be fast and do everything as quickly as possible. And I do have a little touch of lazy in me, so I don't want to spend any more time than I need to cooking dinner. But what I ended up with was a sad, soggy mess instead of that golden, crispy goodness that I was going for. Does this sound familiar? So here are a couple other kitchen mistakes that are pretty common that I used to make and how fixing them really leveled up my cooking game. So I told you about crowding the pan over, like just overpacking that food into your skillet. Food needs space to sear. And if you don't give it that space, it will not sear, it will steam instead. So when it says to cook your food in batches if needed, do that, please. It will take a few minutes longer, but the flavor and texture payoffs are worth it. It is the only way you are going to get that crispy texture for like breaded chicken or, getting things done correctly and not letting it taste mushy. Now, the other problem here is I used to cook cold meat. I would take it right out of the fridge and right to the pan, and then wonder why my meat cooked unevenly and didn't turn out right every time. Letting meat rest at room temperature for 15 to 20 minutes can make a huge difference. So this is something I've gotten into the habit of doing as I'm prepping my recipe and, making dinner. I'll pull the meat out first, let it sit on the countertop for a few minutes while I'm getting everything else ready because I'm also a huge fan of mise en place. So getting everything measured out and ready beforehand so that cooking goes much smoother and easier, and I'm not measuring as I'm going. Okay, so the third mistake I was making, and this one didn't take me too long to correct, was not tasting as I go. I would always wait until the end to season my food, putting in the salt or pepper or any other seasoning. And by then it was too late. When you season it at the end and you put the salt on at the end, your food just tastes salty. It's not seasoned. And seasoning will really bring out the flavor. And I did a whole episode on seasoning your food properly. So please make sure you go back and listen to that one if you didn't. Now I taste and adjust as I go. Now, I'm not talking, I'm taking a bite of raw chicken as I go. We have to be smart about it. But really, each layer that I'm adding to a recipe, I want to make sure it's seasoned. You think salt, acid, spice, it's all part of the process. Okay, mistake number 4 that I was making. Not letting meat rest. And I know you see it on all of the cooking shows and you read it in recipes to let your meat sit for a time so that it has time to rest and, let the juices redistribute. Because slicing into chicken or even steak too soon will make the meat dry. But letting it rest for 5 or 10 minutes really allows the juices to redistribute and stay locked in. If you just take it out of the pan and cut into it, you're going to notice juice goes everywhere. And when juice is on your cutting board, guess where it's not? In the meat. You want to give it time to work its way back into those meat fibers so that your meat that you work so hard to make perfectly really tastes juicy and moist. Okay, rule number 5. This was a rule that I would teach all the time when my son's Boy Scout troop. I did the cooking merit badge, and I would always teach the boys this skill, and that is not to use a dull knife because a sharp knife is much safer than a dull one. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it really is true because if your knife is not sharp, you have to work so much harder to cut with it. And when you're working that much harder, you're more likely to slip and cut yourself or cause all kinds of other kitchen calamities with dull knives. So you want to make sure that your kitchen knives are sharp. And once I started sharpening mine regularly, I cut faster, I cut cleaner, and you don't have as many of those oopsie moments, right? So think about that. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but trust me on this one, it works. Invest in a good knife sharpener and sharpen your knives regularly. If you don't do that, I know there are some kitchen stores out there that will sharpen them for you, or even some places you can send your knives away to get them professionally sharpened. What I did was I got them professionally sharpened one time and then I keep up with it on my own. So, if you're still using knives from the 1980s, and I'm talking to you, Mom, get rid of them and invest in a good knife or sharpen it. Sharpen your knives. We shouldn't be using the same knives from the 80s or 90s that have never been sharpened, because I'm going to guarantee you they're dull. Now, if you've made any of these mistakes, you're in good company because we all start from somewhere. I've made them and I continue to make mistakes all the time. But that's what makes cooking such a fun journey, is figuring this stuff out along the way and becoming better at what we do. So thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Behind the Recipe. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and picked up a few tips to try in your kitchen. And if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast player, leave me a review, and of course, share it with your friends. And I'd love to hear from you. So send me your questions, your feedback, or your recipe ideas. Just head over to itisakeeper.com/BTR. And until next time, happy cooking, and remember, everything is better when shared in the kitchen.